This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Alive Again. This is about all things pets and spiritual and wonderful stuff. And we get so many questions about how do I get more signs from my transitioned pet? And you're going, well, what's a transitioned pet? Look, folks, energy never dies. It's a pet that's shed its pet suit, or earth suit we call it, transitioned over, and it becomes a living spirit. So a lot of people dealing with pet loss go to, oh, he's at the Rainbow Bridge, and I'm so glad, and I'm going to die to meet him again. No, that's not right. The Rainbow Bridge is a poem that was written, and I know it gives you great solace, but here's the deal. It gives you great pain, too. And more people spend more time crying, he's at Rainbow Bridge, I'm never going to see him again till I die. Man, you're wasting a lot of tears because your pet's up there going, whoa, I'm alive, I'm well, let's get together. And you're going, he's dead, he's at Rainbow Bridge. So as soon as you give up that Rainbow Bridge thing and go to his soul transitioned, he left his pet suit, discarded it, and now is living energy on the other side, you are beginning to live a new life, a new awareness, and continue your never-ending love. If you'd like, there's 700, almost 1,000 videos over on my YouTube channel that will give you all of this stuff. And we're also on TikTok, we're on Facebook, everything. So the bottom line is you can find us and there's like way more information. Although this is the best information, there's lots more out there. Now, in getting signs, the most important thing is dead is not done. You have to ask. Why do I have to ask, you say? Well, here's why. First, a spirit on the other side does not have permission to come to you and go, yo, and get in your face. Because your free will choice may want to grieve and may want to go, he's at Rainbow Bridge, oh, wait till he's dead. Or you might want to say, man, I want to talk to him. Now, the last person's the one I'd like to be because that way you can continue your never-ending life. So the first thing you got to do is say, I ask Fluffy to be a part of my life for every breath I take from now on. Now, my fiance, Mike, he was killed 30 years ago, and he is part of my life 24/7, 365, all the time, okay? Because I ask him to be. Please, be a part of my life for every breath I take until I do. And that's been 30 years, folks. So this is my experience. It works. So the first thing you do is you say, I ask you to be a part of my life and live with me and be a part of it for every breath I take from now on. And some people don't want to do that. They just want a few signs. They go get a new puppy and it's like, whatever. And you go, oh, the best thing to do if you'd like a really new puppy or cat or horse, whatever, is get the old one and pick it for you. That's just a little quickie tip in there, all right? So we're going to talk about how you get signs and how you're open to them. We're going to let Joy start after our sponsors.
You know the expression, cats have 9 lives. Well, what if you can give them one more? The Give Them 10 movement is on a mission to help give cats an extra life. How? With spay and neuter. Spaying or neutering your cat helps them live a longer, healthier life. And it helps control free-roaming cat populations too. Learn more about the benefits of spay and neuter and meet Scooter, the neutered cat, at GiveThem10.org. That's GiveThem10.org.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Now we're going to talk to Joy and how she first started getting signs, because a lot of people go, how do I get a sign? The most important thing, ask them to be a part of your life and to come into your life, and you can set how long you want to be. Number 2, you cannot run them off by asking them to be around you all the time. They have nothing else to do on the other side in eternal time but to be with you. Number 3, ask for a time frame, usually within 2 or 3 days. Now, once you get them on a routine, they'll stay around you all the time. But if you've let them sit for a while on the other side doing nothing, because you haven't asked them into your life, you've been crying, and grief is normal. It's a human experience. So we're not condemning your grief. We're trying to get you through the grief, over the speed bump of your mind, and start living your never-ending love with your spirit on the other side. So ask them to participate with you. Ask them to give you signs within a time frame. You can tell once they start coming quick, then, I'm working with Mike every day, all day long, and you'll tell when you move into that space. And the other thing is, you want to make sure that they send you signs that you can readily understand. Like I had a lady says, I want dreams. Now, her pet was dropping cardinals, dropping coins, feathers, all this stuff. And she said, I want dreams. Well, your pet is, and your person, doesn't make any difference whether a pet or person, is in charge of the signs that you get. So don't limit yourself to a specific sign because the pet is in charge. Let them be in charge. So ask for signs that you can readily understand. Joy, you're up.
Okay. Well, when my lab first transitioned, once I learned that signs were possible, because in the beginning I didn't know anything about that. I didn't even know it was a thing, that they could do. I thought everything was just ended, and I had never heard of them being able to send signs. So once I learned that they could do that, my biggest part was not only expecting things, certain ones, like maybe a dog paw print in the sky, and not getting it, even though if I saw something else like a shape of a number, and then just didn't pay any attention because it wasn't that paw print I had in my mind. So my expectations of what I thought I was the kind of sign I was going to get, that kind of got in the way. And because of it, I was pretty much almost missing signs because either I didn't know what to look for, or I was thinking of one particular thing, and at the very time of, even though I'm being all upset thinking I wasn't getting signs, he was actually sending them, and I was missing them. And I would realize it later on, once I got more familiar with how they do send signs. But grief was a big thing also, that my grief was in my way. I was just so upset, and it was really weird because I was walking, after Trig transitioned, I was walking my other lab, Harley, and I always listened to your podcast when I was walking through the neighborhood, just even over and over, because there was just so much different information to learn in those. And so this day we were walking, and at the very time we got to this intersection, and Harley, Trig's little brother, wanted to go to the right, Trig's favorite way, because it goes by his little girlfriend's house, a Weimaraner. I was like telling Harley, no, I'm not ready. I can't go that way yet. That's too much, because I hadn't been that way since I was walking Trig by there. And right at the same time, the podcast I was listening to was the one where you mentioned, it was a phrase you suggested to say, and which I ended up doing it, but it was, I set my grief free so that you can come back and communicate with me.
Yep. Say that again for everybody in case they want to write it down. Because grief is a journey. It's part of your earth experience. But when you have grief, it pushes energy away. It's like, think of it this way. If you take a stone and skip it out over water, it pushes the water away. Okay? And that's what grief and crying does. There's bad crying where you push things away with grief, and there's good crying where it's, that was the happiest day we ever shared. Wasn't that the most fun thing we ever did? When he knocked down the Christmas tree to get to the light, it was the cutest thing ever. And you're crying. That's happy grief. You can bring energy in there. But if you're going, he's dead, he's gone, I'll never see him again, that pushes their energy away. So say that again, Joy.
Okay, it was what you had said that day that, like I said, I was listening to at the very time when the situation came about. I couldn't continue going that certain direction because it was too hard on me, was still being deep in grief. The words that you had said on the podcast were, I set my grief free so that you can come back and communicate with me. So it was like in perfect timing when I heard that, right when I was in the situation of trying not to go that certain direction. But I stopped and I said that phrase out loud, and then I went ahead and went the direction, and Harley and I walked past Trig's girlfriend's house, his favorite spot to go. We walked past there, and when we did, there were all these geese that I heard them coming, and they flew over. And I believe you had mentioned before the meaning of seeing those from something that related to...
Well, geese mate for life, and that means Mike used to come into my household. He would come as a pair of ducks or a single mallard, and it would freak me out that there would be a single mallard floating on the water behind my house or the pond of a lake. And after it would freak me out, I realized that geese and ducks mated forever. And when I saw that mallard, I would say, "Hey, Mikey, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for being here today." And then he would leave. Because lots of times if you say, "Hey," and you acknowledge it, then the sign will move on if it's an animal or stuff. And another thing you can always say when you have a sign with a living being is you say, "Ooh, that's cool. Come back and visit me some more." It's like saying, "Come on, come back some more." And then if you have signs that are scary, you can say, "Don't do that again. That sort of scares me. Try it another way." But I have a book called After Death Signs on Amazon, and it teaches you how to touch your pet on the other side, how to feel it, the energy of it, and how to see it if you have that capacity. And it also talks about the signs, and one of them is about the geese, because this goose would come up and he'd stand in the backyard, and I'm thinking, "Oh, what is this?" And then I realized it was Mikey, because he was my soulmate and he was part of my life and he was my forever and always. And being my forever and always, he used the goose as a sign to show me forever and always. And once I said, "Hey, Mikey," he wandered all off, and every now and then he'll still come back and do that. What are your other signs you got, Joy?
Well, one of the first ones that I ever got was when I had just gotten back from picking up Trig's ashes, that was a very difficult time. And I got home and I was still sitting in the car. The car was still on, and I was just crying so hard I couldn't even get out and walk to the front door. And with the car still being on, the radio was on in the middle of me crying. I think I was even laying down sideways in the seat. I couldn't even get out the car.
You weren't functioning well.
Right.
Wasn't functioning.
It was just way too much. And all of a sudden, I noticed the song that was playing on the radio, and it was an old song, "I'm Going to Keep on Loving You. I'm Going to Keep on Loving You" by REO Speedwagon. It was just so calming when I realized the song and I was listening to the words. And it just, somehow I knew, that it was Trig letting me know he's still with me and he's always going to love me. And it was just a peace that came over me, the same as it would be when, he was here physically and I would hug him, how it calmed me way down. So it was so comforting. And it was actually the only reason I probably got out of the car that day.
Well, that a lot of times they say the first song that you hear in the morning or the first song that you hear when you get in your car is them sending you a message. And I know when Mike transitioned, he would always send me "Time, Love, and Tenderness" by Michael Bolton, which says, "I'm going to love you forever, and there'll be a time when you understand this, but my tenderness is sort of with you always." And so one of the things that is a sign is sometimes when you just turn on the radio, the first song you hear, or things like that. Now, another sign that's even really interesting is Laer's sign. Tell us about that one. Now, folks, that one will shake you up, but we'll hear about that right after our sponsors.
Has your dog or cat chewed through yet another set of sheets? I get it. I've been there. But instead of replacing them with more scratchy, low-quality bedding, why not treat yourself to what Oprah and Kris Jenner sleep on every night? It's called Cozy Earth. And yes, it's as dreamy as it sounds. Their bamboo sheets and pajamas are buttery soft, cooling, moisture-wicking, and they actually get softer every time you wash them. I'm talking next-level snuggle mode here, folks. These sheets have been on Oprah's favorite things list 7 years in a row, and there's a reason why. Cozy Earth gives you the softest, coolest sleep of your life. And just for Pet Life Radio listeners, I scored you an exclusive 41% off. That's the biggest discount they offer anywhere. Just use promo code PetLifeRadio at CozyEarth.com and sleep like the celebrity your pet already thinks you are. That's CozyEarth.com, promo code PetLifeRadio. You'll thank me at bedtime.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Here we are back, and what we said last time is songs. And Lady Laer has an interesting comment on this. Tell us about that.
So there are many forms of divination. I usually use cards, but there's one called shufflemancy. So it's either using a very big playlist or starting a radio channel on Pandora or YouTube with a song and asking spirit to, so in this case, your pets, to communicate with you through the songs. So you can be doing something else. You could be paying attention to the playlist, but as the songs go through, the lyrics that hit you are the messages. So shufflemancy, when you're using music as a form of communication with spirit.
And the other sign that you have is over imaging.
Yes.
Talk about that for us.
I experience grief, I think, a little differently than a lot of people. I kind of like front load it when like a dog is growing old or sick. I grieve while they're alive. So by the time when they transition, I'm pretty much at peace with it. But my last dog who transitioned was hit by a car. He was only 4. And so clearly there was no pre-grief there. And I was very satisfied with the life I gave him. I was just felt robbed of the life I thought we should have had together.
I would have been angry.
Yeah, a little bit anger.
Like you got shortchanged.
Yeah. And he was my husband's heart dog. So when he transitioned, I was so much more concerned about my husband than anything else. And it's like one of the first times I've seen my husband cry. Like it was obviously very traumatic for us. But like when I was driving home and then driving to the vet's office, I'm like, what do I even want right now? I'm like, I just want him to be at peace, not in pain. Like if it's living or transitioned, I just want him to be like at peace. So by the time I got there, he was transitioned. And so I always felt like my grief was delayed with him for a bit because I was so focused on my husband. And then we adopted a dog shortly after because we just needed that new dog energy in our house. And we've had her about 2 years now. And I've probably had over imaging like 2 or 3 times. And it's when just out the corner of my eye, I see him instead of her. And
now, when you say that, that's called over imaging, folks. And again, there's a whole section of that in my book, After Death Signs. Explain what over imaging is, even if you see it out of the corner of your eye. Explain how that looks to you.
So there's a little step up into our living area. So when she hopped up and I like looked over or like processed that she did that, instead of seeing her, I see him. Like for faintest of seconds. They're 2 different dogs. She's a Chihuahua poodle that looks like a white terrier dog, and he was a pom with a full coat. So it's not even like same breed. Like, so it's like, oh, maybe you just got it confused in your mind for a second. She's white. He was tan, fawn. So she would come into the room, and taking that process that she came into the room, I would see him before I saw her. And it was a very interesting thought because it's kind of like, what just happened?
And it's very real. Now, is it a steam form or is it thick? So you recognize him.
It was like he was there for a second.
Yep. That's over imaging.
Mm-hmm.
And what over imaging is for folks who are listening going, what? The living pet gives the transition pet permission to overlay its body. It's sort of like, think of fudge sauce on ice cream. The ice cream gives the fudge sauce permission to sit there for a minute. And that's what over imaging is. Go ahead, Laer.
Yep. And special for me because I always forget to ask Spirit to enter my daily life. So for him to do that.
You have to do that but one time. Listen to her say that. Y'all, this is an example that most people do. They go, I forget to ask him every day. You don't have to do it but once. You simply say, I give you permission to be a part of my life for the rest of my life, for every breath I take. That is blanket permission for the rest of your life, for every breath you take. So you don't have to worry about it every day. Now, if you're really more pushy about it, to get them in a routine, which I was very pushy with Mike, I wanted him in a routine every day. I want you with me every day. I want you with me. So it's like, Mikey, where are you? Where are you? Talk to me, Mikey. Talk to me, Mikey. Show me a sign, Mikey. Show me. And then once you get them in that, they get the idea. It's like, cool, man. I'll hang out with you 24/7, 365. And it's 30 years later, folks, and Mike is still in my life every day, all day long. And sometimes when I go to the loo, it's like, Mikey, I have human things to do in this loo. Would you please leave me alone? Because spirits lots of times like to get you in the shower and in the loo because they think, I got her full attention. So you don't have to ask them every time if she had asked them one time, but if you want them more often, you get them into a routine. And I have him in a 24/7, 365 routine rather than every now and then sort of what maybe, okay? So that's what you want to do. Now back to you, Laer. Why don't you do that?
I just forget it's a thing because I'm what I call, and much of the internet calls neurospicy. It's undiagnosed like ADHD or autism, etc. So we have this thing called object permanence. So if it's literally not in your face, you forget about it.
Okay.
And so I literally just forget. And part And what's also really special about him doing this is when I buried him, I dug a hole and I put him in the ground.
Okay.
I said I wouldn't forget him. And I feel like I forget him more often than I should. So I think that's him holding me to
So
my
here's what we
promise as
say.
well.
I ask you to be a part of my life for the rest of my life, for every breath I take. And then you don't have to worry about the rest of it. Then you talk to him when you're ready.
Yes.
And I wanted to add too, the reason it's good the reason you need to ask them to be a part of your life is because I learned from you, Brent, that they honor free will choice. So if you're thinking that they don't come around, they don't send signs, and you have to wait for them until you also transition before you can communicate or be with them, then that's the way they honor that. You think that they can't do this, and that's the way they'll honor that, and they won't do
That's
it.
right.
But if you invite them, then it opens the process, and you can enjoy them and continue the journey with them in a different way.
So did the over-imaging scare you?
No, it was a nice reminder of the things I forgot.
Okay. Well, folks, we hope that gives you some ideas of how to keep them in your life forever and ever and always, and to continue your never-ending love story. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok. Check out our book, After Death Signs. It tells you how to do all this. And we thank you for listening. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing lots more stuff. Bye, bye, bye.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.